New Year。
还要去日内瓦的。
没错，
我们终于在飞机上吃得很饱，
而且终于有睡到一整个。
可是我旁边有人会打。
Current police stakeholder approach, we call it
Shut our loving whole pastel summer right now.
Due to climate change, global
What is a basin? Basin is like a ball. What actually happens? Yes, the first
Good morning, everyone. We are a group infinity. Yeah. Our research topic is global climate issue, and today we will focus on global warming, then known in Taiwan as Due to the climate change, the global mean temperature is rising, and when the air temperature is rising, it will cause the ice sheets and the glaciers melting.
Because of global warming, the sea level is increasing, and obviously in Bangladesh also the sea level is increasing. This is that sea is very much like to Bangladesh. Bangladesh don't like the sea because as you see, this part is increasing in Bangladesh.
This is Taipei. Taipei is the geological landform is a basin. What is a basin? Basin is like a ball. So this is a ball and the sea level rise, and there will be from the river here. This is the Danshui River. So Taipei will disappear in the future.
What kind of work would you expect UNICEF to be doing in this area?
The biggest meeting on the new development goals that are also centered around sustainability, and UNICEF has been working very strongly to make sure that the perspective of children.
I'll kind of give you a presentation of the content of the CRC in brief from their structure. Now I try to give you a presentation of the content of this document by using what I am aware is a not typical human rights catalog of classification of rights. Why is it not? Because normally we are used to define the human rights in generation. And here I'm not doing it. I'm organizing them on the basis of the content and the characteristics of the principle and articles contained in this document. So my first group of rights that are contained in the CRC are the universal human rights. The second one are the specific rights, which are rights that are attributed, recognized exclusively to children. The third category are the rights that are attributed to children that belongs to specific categories or that are confronted with specific issues.
Hello, our topic is the right of the child to be heard under UN Convention on the Right of the Child. What is CRC? CRC is the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is started from 1989, and this convention was the first instrument to incorporate a range of international human rights, including civil, social, economic, and political rights, as well as aspects of humanitarian laws.
This means that this act not only covers the welfare for children and youth, but also the basic right from CRC. Based on CRC. And then in 2014, we have a big progress. which is we enact implementation act of the Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Even if they want to shout out loudly how much they are suffering right now, no one can hear them. So this is what we are concerned about, that we have to stop ignoring their voice.
Why should children have this right? So from the conventions, there are 4 principles, and the 4th one is respect for the views of the child.
We cannot assume that the child is incapable of forming their views. Children have the right to express their opinion freely, and their views should be heard under any matters affecting to them.
Please listen to them, and because they have the right to be heard. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Relationship with the UN. You heard some minutes ago from Amish that NGOs within the UN have a special status, so they need to be accredited. So we will probably hear from Madame Reitano a bit more about it. So thanks again for having us here. The floor is yours.
Our group's topic is multi-stakeholders approach for public affairs. We have already mentioned to you all previously, we are focusing on the homosexuals' right to marriage. And our research question is, how can the multi-stakeholders approach ensure the homosexuals' right to marriage? Taiwan actually has passed the first reading of the same-sex marriage.
In Taiwan's multi-stakeholder approach, we call it the hearing. And let's divide it into 3 parts: public hearing, orientation, legislative hearing.
Okay, next I'll talk about the NGOs who oppose homosexual marriage in Taiwan. So what this picture says is that I want a family with a father and a mother. That is one of the statements they made. Because these parties are more conservative, they're more traditional, so they think that a family has to have a mother and a father. And what is interesting is that on the range, between the range of 20 to 29 years old people, the young youth, there's more than 84% of the people that support homosexual marriage.
People should have equal right to marry.
How in different cultures women is treated. Women have, girls have access to education, yes or no? So it's one of the huge factors. If you cut out half of the population and high or don't give girls access to education, of course, you may put yourself a tremendous obstacle to development just in using cultural differences as an argument against your own development. And this is unfortunately one of the major backlash in all the question of development. Okay? Now, welcome to Geneva.
Before I came to the ILO work, I used to work in the consumer cooperative movement in Japan, and as well as in the Philippines. I used to work with cooperative movement in the Philippines for 11 years. So, and I love cooperative movement.
Hello, I'm Hyunjun. I'm from South Korea, and previously worked for the Ministry of Finance in South Korea. Actually, South Korea is now, the Ministry of Finance of South Korea is now in charge of cooperative and social economic issues, because the South Korean government think this is a kind of new business model which can enhance employment and some reduce income disparity and social welfare, and eventually lead to the economic growth. That's why I came here and working.
And I'd like to quickly go the history of the ILO engagement with cooperatives. Can we go next? So when ILO started to support cooperatives, the first Director General, he was the French cooperator and a member of Central Committee of the ICA International Cooperative Alliance, and he became a first director of the ILO.
Actually, I personally have I have my own experience and story of the green oyster incident in Taiwan, and that can kind of explain why the green oyster is happening.
Sociology is a methodology that researches on different group of people, how they interact with each other and their relations. So I think it's the most suitable way for us to analyze.
Explain the green oyster incident in a socio-economic approach. So these 6 groups are the main stakeholders in the green oyster incident. Now that's a question. Who pays what? What's the cost? Who's in charge?
We still need to ask those enterprises and those factories to give their promise to never pouring down industrial waste to the river or to the sea. And also, we need to ask them to pay fair compensation to those victims.
even more imports. Many people would say, if you open to imports, then you're going down. In fact, sometimes you need imports to have better exports. And I think Friedrich was comparing earlier, say a country like China that has 41% export-import to GDP. A substantial proportion of those imports are components that go into products that are then re-exported. Like the Olympic rings. Trade is in the middle, but it has impacts on many other areas that are just as important from a national policy point of view. So it impacts on intellectual property rights, it impacts on social services, as we said, education, health, etc. It impacts on telecom and IT. There is an IT agreement in the WTO, a very important agreement. Food security and agriculture. All these are interrelated with trade. And therefore, since the WTO is the mother of trade, it needs to be in contact with many of these organizations and to discuss amongst them how to improve the infrastructure of the World Trade System.
Trade is equivalent to a high proportion, a very high proportion of GDP. Trade is so important to understand. And that's why it's absolutely essential and good that you invest the time, each one of you, to understand the spectrum and to see, whether you're a lawyer or whether you work in the social area or arts. For a country like Taiwan, understanding what trade means, what are the dynamics of trade, is so important because, how do you say, if trade sneezes, Taiwan, gets a cold, right?
So this is what he said yesterday. I've seen it yesterday evening on the web. So I'm relaying this message. So now we are going to speak about internet. Sorry. Question. IHL applies only in international armed conflict. It means a conflict, a war between two states. Is it right? Is it wrong?
Wrong.
Wrong. You all say wrong. Congratulations. You're right. Well, you're right. It's wrong. You're right. Yeah. Question. You know that the French army is presently intervening in Mali. You know Mali? And French troops are operating there. Is France at war with Mali? Is this an international armed conflict? Here, France intervenes to support the Malian government against an opposition armed group. So they are not opposing the Malian government, they are opposing an armed group. They are supporting the government to combat an opposition armed group.
Very happy to be here with you, very comfortable, somewhat at home, because I don't know if you know that Peru is a country of some 30 million people, and 1 million of the Peruvians have Chinese blood. So we are very keen. We consider part of the Chinese culture as part of delegating the Peruvian mission many years ago. Then I went back to the ministry for a few years and then I came back here. But the first time I arrived to Geneva, it was very hard for me to understand how the human rights area works. Actually, it's sort of a patchwork, and it is not what it was supposed to be from the beginning.
Okay, so my major issue will be human rights, yours or mine. Okay, yesterday Yoshi says all my students should be free on their own, and then you should all learn to be independent. And then I just look at him. I said, what do you mean by independent? I cannot be left alone. Okay, so different people have different human rights. Don't tell my children that they should all be left alone because I cannot. Okay, right? So, well, that was a joke. But anyway, it's just when we are talking about international human rights, this is the picture I often see when we put the image of international human rights into maybe different colors, different religion, different backgrounds, whatever. Okay. So I think with this picture, we recognize that there are various kinds of human rights that we need to deal with. And what are we aiming for? That's the question that is normally in my mind. And it is the intention, the ambition of our president to do all of them before he stepped down. That's his intention. Alright, okay? So originally he only had to do 7, but now he has to do 9. So I'm not sure, I think he has a very tight schedule. That's right. But we don't do bilateral now because, if I may say, we have imported a lot of foreign labors, and I don't think we import human rights. We import them as a human being. We simply import their labor. I don't know whether you get what I mean. When we say, even when we get the so-called foreign spouses, okay, I think we only get their labor power and the power to give offspring, but we don't import them as a human being. That's what I see. We are just taught not to talk about sex, but love. Only us, we women, we know about love. Men, they know nothing about love. They only have sex. After sex, they want food, they want beer, and they want TV. Okay, and then of course people come to the
第一次要去 UN 感觉如何？不要再拨头发了。 他怎么那么严重？不知道那里长什么样子。不知道那里长什么样子。那你有什么 prepare 吗？
没有。
没有 prepare。好，不要紧张，那我们换下一个。
到哪里了？我在安息。
我刚没下来拍到。
对，没拍到，到安息了，到安息。
我拍到了。
到了。对，哎，很近哦。哎，不能录影吗？哎，没有别人了吗？
还有个学长。
哎，到了。
不要照脸部的细部特征，就不要照脸的细部特征就好。
没关系。
大家好像对于这个没什么害怕，明明前面是一片云。
耶！
还有一个
完全看不到。
对啊，在录影。
对啊，这边就是
都想到《情深深雨蒙蒙》的一首歌。
你有看吗？
刚刚有人要唱歌吗？
我看原声带，我超想奏，超爱吹的。这就有放。唱古巨基啊，超想有。对啊，舒缓。
只要换一下白。
这摄影机拍摄。